I'm Rick Kaler. Thanks for joining me. Frugality. It's a valuable financial habit. It's actually the number one common denominator among people that I know who are wealth builders. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, since no matter how much you make or what you may invest in, you've got to be able to live on less than you make in order to have money to invest. In some circumstances, however, frugality can actually be dangerous. Frugality is found in a plethora of money scripts. Some examples that come to mind are always select the least expensive option, or if you don't need it, don't buy it, or do it yourself instead of paying someone else, or do without now in order to have enough in the future. Like all money scripts, in the right circumstance, these frugal beliefs work perfectly. A frugal money script like always select the least inexpensive option will probably work well when it comes to comparing S&P 500 index funds, or Series 4 Apple Watches, or 87-octane gasoline. But it's not such a good guideline in other circumstances. For example, comparing the cost of an ambulance versus driving yourself to the hospital. I learned this particular lesson recently through dealing with some serious health concerns of a member of my family. A healthy, athletic older woman, she suddenly developed dizziness, vomiting, slurred speech, and other symptoms that suggested a stroke. A family member drove her to the emergency room. The ER staff were just not convinced she was having a stroke because she had no weakness on one side of her body. They finally did an MRI and a CAT scan and found nothing wrong. The hospital radiologist and neurologist diagnosed old age and sent her home. 3 months later, with her speech and balance only somewhat improved, she consulted a neurologist for a second opinion. Looking at the previous MRI and CAT scans, this doctor confirmed this family's suspicion that indeed she had suffered not one, but several strokes. He told them, next time this happens, call 911 so they can assess your situation and start you on a drug to clear the clot. Well, soon after that, she had another episode of vomiting, slurred speech, and increased dizziness. Remembering the instructions, call 911, but knowing how expensive an ambulance ride would be, she called a member of the family to take her to the emergency room. Again, the ER staff ordered an MRI and CAT scans, but found no evidence of a stroke or need for the clot-clearing drug and sent her home. Upon learning this, the second neurologist put his face in his hands. He said, I told you to call 911 because it's imperative that you show up at the ER by ambulance. The EMT will call ahead to report a suspected stroke, which procedurally sets a whole series of events in action that end up with you getting the drug that you need within 3 hours. If you just walk in, you risk that you will not be taken seriously, and the legal invocation of a stroke alert won't happen. You just may not get the care that you need, just as you didn't on your second visit. He said you're lucky to still be alive. Now, had the neurologist initially explained the reasoning behind his instructions to call 911, chances are that the patient would have done so. Without that knowledge, though, she defaulted to her frugal money script that the cheaper option of driving to the ER would serve just as well as calling an expensive ambulance. And, just think about the money that's being saved, even if she wasn't necessarily paying it out of pocket, but maybe on Medicare that would save some money for somebody else. Nice intentions. But following that money script could have cost my relative her life. She told me that was a scary way to discover a money script that I need to modify. In matters of health, a wiser money script is select the most medically appropriate option, not the least expensive one. Thanks for listening.